what type of smoke do you think is going to come for the NFL Players Association? Because they tweeted out last night that they're going to look into this, but there are already some former players and maybe even current players I see that are a little. They feel the NFL Players Association was much more gung ho about making sure Deshaun Watson plays than protecting Tua from not playing after that first concussion.
Yeah, it's a good point, Caleb. Look, the Players Association is legally responsible for standing up to their player, like in any situation. I mean, it's just like if somebody guns somebody down, it's like they've got to back them up. But to your point of why aren't they that vigilant on this part of it? And look, it's all part of a collective bargaining agreement. So it is something that they need to look more strongly at. But here's why they haven't. Because the players themselves say, we don't want that. If I get taken out, and again, we're not talking about the tours of the world. We're talking about the majority of the players. If you take me out, I may lose my job because somebody may come in and take my job and just be better. I can't afford to be taken out of the game. And so we have to decide. And I think the reason why we've even gone this far in terms of protecting players, it's not for the purity of protecting a player. It's just for protecting yourself against litigation because we're living in a different world. See, players that I kind of knew of when they were old, that played in the 30s and 40s, they had these same problems. We just didn't know about it. We didn't know CTE. We didn't study brains. So in the 50s and 60s, we didn't know any of it. The players that played in the late 60s and the 70s, those are the ones that are dying and their brains are being studied and they're finding out what they had, what they died from. You probably, people who maybe saw the movie Concussion, and there's a lot of truth to that of what happened. So now we know. And so now it is a lot of people, we live in a litigious society, and, we're going to get sued if we don't make every rule possible and do everything to make it safer. But the players push back a little bit with their players association to say, don't make it to where somebody can take us out of a game, because if you take us out of the game, then you're taking food off my table, because they all think, well, I'm not going to get in. I can play. I'm good. And so that's the reason why the players association is not a body that can just do what they want to do. Everything has to be voted on by the players. So I do think that we need to look at this from a lot of angles, that the players need to take this more serious about, look, we need to make it to where we take it out of our hands, where we don't have a say-so. Meaning, we can't play just because we want to play and we think we can play and we feel good. And it's difficult. We all been to the doctor for different things, and doctors ask, well, how do you feel? They know as much as they can know, but we know our bodies. But the concussions are a different thing. They're different. You think you're good. I thought I was good. And then you see things and it's like starts to turn, and you have after effects of concussion that you feel fine for maybe a week. And then all of a sudden you start seeing things, and it's raining, and the rain is going up to the sky and not down, and you're seeing, and you just get sick to your stomach. And it's a weird thing. We still don't know as much about it as we need to know it, because what I mentioned, you can't really study and know definitively until the person dies and can open up the brain. So it's just, we need to be, if we're going to be cautious, we need to do it. And then there's other things that people are concerned. You take a player out of the game. I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, the Panthers are going to the Super Bowl. Remember when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl? And the NFC Championship game, Cam Newton come out of a hit. And, all the signs. He was staggering. He was going to the other sidelines. He was turned around. All the signs were there that it was a concussion. You're going to take him out of the game now? This probably could basically end the Dolphins season. There's a lot of people with money. Well, I got there. It's a lot of pressure to put them back in the game by everybody, by society, by everyone, except now, how did you put them back in? So it's one of those things, the very people that are saying, got to get him in. You got to get him in. And then, well, why'd you put him in? It's just one of those deals where you've got to really take a hard look at this from every angle and protect players from themselves. Because if you don't do that and you leave it in the hands of the player and the team doctor, that is always going to be looked with cross eyes about, well, what are their motivations? And I just explained what they are. And that's not going to be as comfortable. And if an independent person says no, then you're going to have people say, "Oh yeah, he's on the take." So it's a little bit of a no-win. But I'm going to tell you, if we have a tragic situation, with a player on the field, particularly a known player, that's in this day and age, look out. If something were to happen and Tua can't play anymore, they are liable. I'm not saying it would happen. They're liable from a lawsuit standpoint. That's pretty big. And the league is concerned about that. They may not be concerned about player safety. They are concerned about the litigious part that they could lose in court, and they are very protective of that.
So this is going to lead us to today's tough question. And I'm actually just tweeting it out on my phone because I can't do it on here. So today's tough question is, who is to blame for Tua's injury? And I'm going to give 4 options. It's going to be the NFL. It's going to be the team doctor. It's going to be the Miami Dolphins. And it's going to be number 68. My thing with number 68 and that hit that he put on Tua, and I know people are going to say it was a fine hit. It was whatever. He slammed him. He picked him up and he slammed him. I mean, he picked him up in the air, but he grabbed him and he slammed him down. With tackling quarterbacks, I don't think you have to go that far. I think you can just tackle him and call it a day. But the grabbing him and slamming him to the ground, I had a problem with that. Now, everybody else I've talked to had no problem with it. I had a problem with it. You're a coach, Coach Landry. You've seen it from all sides. What's your input on that one?
Well, and it's a perfect example. People complain that we're protecting the quarterbacks too much, and they can't get hit. And yeah, that is what they now penalize for doing. You're not supposed to slam them in. You're not supposed to hit them high. You're not supposed to hit them in the head. All those things. That's why they put all those rules in to protect them. So again, they're protecting against litigation down the road. That's why they're doing it. And then people criticize. Well, what do you expect the defender to do? You just can't win there. They don't like the rule. They want quarterbacks to get hit, but then when they get hurt like this, well, why aren't you protecting them? It's one of those deals where, you can't. The public is going to have that. A little aggressive, yeah. Hit and getting them to the ground, it's tough. There's a player, and I can tell you that you're there. I don't think he had any desire to hurt. You don't want to hurt a player. So I'm a little bit reluctant to say that, that it's him. I think it's all of them that you mentioned. And because what I said is it's the process of which we have. I mean, okay, the Dolphins doctor, well, he gets paid by the Dolphins. It's the league. Well, it's the league and the Players Association that makes the rules. So to me, I would put in there Players Association, yes. NFL, yes. Dolphins, yes. How we officiate, yes. I mean, it's all of that. It's not a one person problem thing. It's a universal problem of how we dealt with, and hopefully, I've kind of mentioned of the things that are the issues that we need to crack that a little bit, and we need to say, look, we're going to have to understand that the game is not going to be as violent. We can't let them get hit as much, and we're gonna. So if that's too violent, then the player has to be suspended for 3 games. If that's the way you're going to go, that's the way you're going to go. But then don't complain about it if your favorite defender is out for 3 games and he costs your team to win a game if you're a fan of a particular team. You just can't have it both ways. You have to kind of make the proclamation of how you do it, go forward with it, live with it. But what can you live with? Can you live with that, or can you live with somebody getting severely hurt? I mean, I think it's a fine line, and it's very difficult because the league wants to protect, particularly its stars, particularly its quarterbacks. And I think that, that is going to be something that's going to be in the forefront, but it doesn't, it does take away from what people used to seeing the game. I'm fine with making the rule changes because I understand why they have to do it. But out there, we get just as many people complain about, oh, I hate the targeting rule. I hate that. Well, then don't complain about this, because this is the genesis of all that. That's why it's taking place. And it used to be that you told players, you could get paralyzed, you could get maimed, you can, you play or don't want to play. But then, and some people had that view. Hey, look, you go play, the risk, that's it. You know what? That's not my problem. That's how some people feel.
Mhm.
Well, then basically through litigation, you lose in a lawsuit, and then all of a sudden you lose enough money to where you change the rules.